Welcome back, fellow YouTubers. As I mentioned, this is my 20 caliber can that I have been working on, my ammo can, which is my tent stove. And as I mentioned to you, the previous segment was that most people use a 50 cal. Well, I found it to be a lot easier to use a 20 cal, only because of the ability to burn more wood and not having to constantly feed it, and being able to have the maneuvered ability within the can to do that. So that's a matter of personal discretion of what you want to do and for what your needs are. But for today's video, we're going to be talking about the 20 cal. Just to let you know, my second prototype, I told you I built three cans. The first one was a 40 cal, which is slightly smaller than this, and then there was another can. The second can was also a 40 cal. Well, this can is a 20 cal and has worked perfectly for my needs. So let's go and let me describe some of the components to it. What I've done is, rather than use the typical way of feeding the fire through the side ports, I have decided to feed the fire through the top of the can. So that has given me the ability to, on the side here, to have a vent. And on the vent, what I've done is I've taken and used for, I don't know the technical term for it, but it is a cap for electrical cups. And you can put this on. So I think they use this for when they put fans in for ceiling fans. But what I did was I used this round diameter device here, which, like I said, is from the electrical department, and I used a cabinet handle, and I was able to determine that the cabinet handle fit perfectly within the distance that you would normally screw this cap onto a galvanized receptacle box for electric. I was able to punch out the 4 holes, and that gave me my venting holes. Then I just copied that onto the can and drilled out the same 4 holes in the can. Now what I did do is I put some expanded metal inside, and the purpose for that is to cut down on the amount of sparks that would exit the can. But as you could see, you could control however you want to control the heat. You would be able to control that. You can control by giving yourself more ability to let in more air by having all 4 holes or 2 holes. Again, whatever you want to do. Now let's look at the sides and what I've used for feet. What I've basically done as far as the feet, from my original prototype, I used a floor flange with a short nipple and then a 45-degree elbow. Well, in this particular case, what that did was it created extra weight, because I also had to use a 12-inch nipple threaded, and that was just too bulky and too heavy. So I cut down the weight. And the way I did that was, rather than use the floor flange, the nipple, and the 45-degree elbow all in cast iron or black pipe, what I chose to do was I found a product made for boating. And this is what is called a boating fitting, rail fitting. And I'll show you what they actually look like in its packaged form. It's copper. I apologize, it's chrome. And this happens to be a 30-degree mount. And this will probably go on my next stove. These are 45-degree mounts that I have on this stove, which gives my legs a little more spread to the can. However, this is the 30-degree mount, and this is a company it's made by a company called C-Choice, and you can get that through sportsmanguide.com, and I think you might even be able to buy it right through C-Choice, but they handle marine products. And again, like I said, this is for the railing, for a railing system on a boat. Now what you'll see here is, right here, is another part of a railing system for the boat. And that just looks like this. And again, that's in its packaged form. And that's for straight railing. If you're not running on any kind of an angle, this is a straight 90 degree, what they consider to be 90 degree. So you can get these through either Sea Choice, I'm pretty sure, or you can get them through sportsmanguide.com. Those are the two. Sportsmanguide.com for sure is a cheap source to do them. So what I've done is, you'll notice that this, I think you could tell that there are two-tone colors on here. The box is black, and then I've painted these a camo green. Really, that's all personal preference. Actually, there was some great debate whether or not I should sand the whole entire box down, sandblast it, and then paint it, and so there wouldn't be any writing that would bleed through. This has 8 coats of high heat black paint, and with 8 coats of high heat black paint, you could still see the lettering that the military inscriptions are for their code. Frankly, I don't care. I have no desire to worry about the fact that I could see any inscription or that I didn't sandblast it. That again is strictly a personal preference. You could even keep the can the original color that the military issued, which is OD green. So now let's take a look at the inside of the can. What I've done in the inside of the can is I've built a little shelf. I don't know if you could even see the expanded metal here. That's the screening to protect ambers from going out through the vent holes that I showed you from the electrical outlet box. Outlet box cover, I apologize. But here are 2 angle iron, angle rod, whatever you want to call it, and I've bolted them to the box. And that acts as a leg system or stand system for the expanded metal that I will put in to hold the wood. And that's what the expanded metal looks like. And what this basically does is keep the wood off the floor of the can so you don't warp the can. And not to mention that as the wood burns, the ambers fall through, and then when you're all done and your fire is out, you want to remove this and clean out the ambers. So I'm going to place this in here. And now you can see this is what it looks like, and there is about roughly, I would say, almost 2.5 inch gap between where the wood sits and the bottom of the can. And that gives also air to penetrate underneath the wood, allowing the wood to burn even more efficiently. So now let's look at the top. I'm going to stop the video for now. I'm going to show you what the top of the can looks like so you get a better idea of what my intentions were.